Morning, beautiful people. I'm sure that you all are noticing that our illustrious spiritual director, Miss Pat Ferguson, is not present on the board this morning. She is taking a little personal time. But first, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all our mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and maternal spirit within each and every one of you, either here this morning or listening on the recording. We will be knowing that Spirit brings to all mothers a rose or something better this day, because we appreciate everything that motherly love brings to the world. And today is the day that the world especially loves and honors you. And now, to let you know, on Pat's behalf, she had a little challenge last night. There's no worries, she's fine, but she bumped the corner of a piece of marble of the countertop in her house with her chin last night. And it is causing her possibly to need get a little bit of support from her dentist. So we are just knowing that she is guided and directed with regard to all things dental, and that all is well. Now I just want to invite us to take that pausing breath, settle back into your chair for Sunday service this morning, and we shall open with a prayer. And as is the way of the spiritual director's chair, I open this prayer with the most powerful words we can possibly say. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Presence of Spirit, for bringing us together this day, for making this phenomenal experience that we have possible through what is called being virtual. It is such a confirmation that there is no time or space in spirit. In spirit, we are one. In spirit, we are in the same room right here and right now. And exponentially, it is as though each of us is in each other's room. And so what we know, what we have, what we would see for the world is right here, right now, at every point, in every way. I recognize it. I bless it for this Mother's Day and for the message being spoken here, that it is given and received and reciprocal, that each person here receives what they came for and is received for what they bring. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Presence of Life, for this and so much more on behalf of our individuals and community, and on behalf of our community as a whole, most certainly for mothers around the world, and for Miss Pat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I just release it, I let it be, and so it is. And now I want to officially welcome everybody. Louisville Center for Spiritual Living is a community that honors all paths to God. And we want you to know that whether you've been with us for all this time or whether this is your first time here, we honor your experience of the divine. And we know that your direct experience of the divine is what meets you in your life, and that your place with us is perfect this day, that you are a part of what makes us who we are. And we thank you so very much for being here with us today. And now let us do our mission and vision statement. I love the fact that we're doing our mission and vision statement every week, and I hope everybody is getting this written on your hearts. Our mission statement: to teach personal transformation as a virtual community, living the principles of science of mind, and celebrating all has to God. And our vision statement, a world that honors and respects all people. And now I would like to assure you that I am your practitioner of the week. I am assisted this morning by the lovely Miss Bev Iyengar, who will give us our sacred reading and meditation. I face my fears through courage, strength, and faith.
Good morning, everyone. I love that song. It brings joy to my heart every time. So, right here and right now, I'm going to give our spiritual reading for the day. And it comes from a book. As soon as I find it, it comes from a book entitled The World According to You by Paula Bacarte. And this subsection is called Love and Fear. There are two basic human states of being, love and fear. And all our emotions fall within one of these two categories. When we speak about love, we mean all the emotions that empower us, such as joy, peace, kindness, serenity, understanding, patience, compassion, and forgiveness. When we discuss the category of fear, we refer to all the emotions that create resistance and disconnect us from ourselves and from the source of all energy. Fear emotions include envy, anger, stress, anxiety, intolerance, judgment, resentment, hatred, jealousy, and greed. All emotions in their purest form, meaning at the instant we feel them, are a perfect expression of our being. The moment we acknowledge the feeling as an emotion and articulate what it is, we enter either into a place of empowerment that gives the feeling of being connected, or a place of disempowerment that creates resistance. Most of us can't distinguish that nanosecond when this happens. And by the time we recognize the emotion and put a thought to it, the emotion has already begun to affect us, one way or the other. Although we are complex human beings, we can only truly occupy one of these basic emotions at a time. When we're residing in any expression of a fear-based emotion, we can't also be in a place of love. At any given moment, we're either operating from fear or we're operating from love, but never both simultaneously. If we choose to shift out of a fear-based feeling, we create to some degree of emotional access to the state of love. And then she speaks personally in this last paragraph. Instead of judging people as evil beings or doing nasty, unethical things, I choose to start seeing these for what they are, simply choices based on fear. I also began to observe myself to see if my responses to a given situation were based on fear or love. I would ask myself more regularly, now where are you coming from in this moment? And the question referred specifically to if I was coming from a place of love or a place of fear. Over time, I discovered that if I even needed to ask the question, it was pretty certain that I was in a place of fear. With that answer, I could distinguish which fear-based emotion I was expressing. For example, anger, anxiety, intolerance. And with this awareness, I could consciously make a shift from the fear emotion to the love emotion. The real challenge for us is to remain in the love emotion as often as possible, because from this place of love, we are totally connected to all the power and knowledge that exists in this universe and beyond. With that reading, I want to move us into what is generally identified as our meditation time. But today I'm going to give it a different title and hopefully a little different twist. I'm going to call it our sitting and contemplating time. So find yourself in a comfortable position. It may be feet on the ground, hands comfortably in your lap, a straight head, or depending on how you're sitting in your favorite chair, it may be scooted back and relaxed and your feet up. Take 2 deep breaths with me before we start, just to kind of put us in a breathing place together. So breathe in, fill your lungs, and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And as you go back to regular breathing, close your eyes gently for us together. Let's begin our sit-in and contemplation by considering a situation from your life that you remember responding to in fear, and bring that situation to the forefront. Maybe it was a relationship within your family or your friends. Maybe it's from some play activity or game setting. Maybe it's a work situation. Maybe it's a time that you wanted to apply your creative energy. Or maybe it's simply any future event where you're uncertain about it and no fear. Give yourself a moment to feel that fear in your body and to know it indeed as fear. In your contemplation, think how it feels. As you know within your body that feeling of fear, take a different step. Still seated, but a step into love. Remember that if indeed love and fear do not exist together at the same time, then you have a choice to move to love. And as you consider your setting and situation from the perspective of love, and think about that feeling of love within your body, you note indeed the change that happens for you. Take a few moments now to feel that love move through you in this situation, and the knowingness indeed that that love is in you now. Relax and trust that love is indeed flowing through your body, and that fear simply fades unto the nothingness that it now is. The all good that is spirit is flowing into your thoughts, and you know spirit definitely has your back. Now in this sitting and thinking together, please step back into the present. And join us as we continue in today's time together. The special music for today is coming right up.
Thank you so much, Beverly. That was lovely, lovely, lovely. And our special music for today is I Fly by Michael Gott.
What else? I Fly. You're going to be my bass and drums on that, Rebecca? I'll do it. All right, this is one of those challenging songs to see how much sound we can get out of this old guy. We'll see. One of my favorite songs, and it's right in the theme. Thanks, honey. Let it go. Trusting that there is that infinite presence that is us, living through us, lifting us, and supporting us. I pay attention in class, future wilderness. I let it go. I release the thing I'm clinging to. I release what's holding me, and I'm falling into God's love. I let it be. There's nothing more I need to do, nothing more to say, just falling into God's love. I feel the Spirit holding me, and it is lifting me on high. I rise on a power I can't see, and on the wings of love I fly. I fly.
Don't you just want to jump up and give the man a standing ovation? Oh my gosh. That is absolutely among my very, very, very favorite songs on the planet. Not to mention the beautiful being that it comes from. Good morning again. It is absolutely my privilege and my pleasure to be speaking this morning. And how many of you were here last Sunday to hear Reverend Rick's talk on emotions as the spice of life? Wasn't it just absolutely awesome? And for those of you who were not here, I know we have some people here this morning that were not here last week. You might want to catch the recording. It's truly another one of those that is not to be missed. Our theme for the month of May is our emotions. And throughout the month, we're going to be dedicating a week each to fear, happiness, anger, and sadness. So today, we're giving special attention to our fears. And so you notice the balance we've had. We've had a little happiness with the song, and now we've got a great amount of faith, and we're bolstered up to engage the fear factor. If it sometimes seems odd to think that we would highlight fear first, it really makes sense when you stop and realize that fear is among the most universal of emotions in common experiences for human beings, and fear reactions speak a universal language. You know, I was noticing in the special music when Bobby Farron was doing the various things sort of at the beginning, like standing out on the ledge. I mean, it doesn't matter what language you speak, you see someone standing on a ledge and you know what's going on there, right? And so when we're experiencing fear, it's almost impossible to really feel anything else. And for this reason, if we want an honest overview of emotions, it's a good thing possibly to consider fear first. So I want to start with a little refresher from last week to give us a launching pad for today. Reverend Rick said, our emotions are amazing resources to help us learn about ourselves. The variety of our emotions serves to add spice to the human mix. As we lean into learning from our emotions and creating balance, our recipe, if perfected with just the right blend, will create a life of harmony, well-being, and growth. But society and our families have trained many of us that certain emotions are good and others are bad. And all emotions are normal to experience at some times. And if we buy into the belief that some emotions are not good to feel, we may actually berate ourselves just for having the feelings, which doesn't do anybody any good of any kind at all. And that's how hidden beliefs develop in the first place, that end up feeling like they sabotage the outcomes of our experiences, and then we really don't know why it happened. There is always a way that it adds up in spirit. So we're going to give some special, compassionate attention to our fears in 3 different lights. Pardon me. Get to know yourself through your fear, creating safety, and then moving from fear to faith to love. Now, why should we get to know our fears in the first place? Because of the messages Reverend Rick mentioned that most of us have gotten from our culture, one might think or believe that the goal is to be free of fear, like it's a reaction to life that we're supposed to overcome or grow out of. This attitude has grown out of losing touch with the rightful place and the purpose there is actually for fear. So today, most of us totally misunderstand how to manage fear and benefit from it in our daily lives. In truth, nature gives us the powerful reaction of fear to ensure our survival. So we really don't want to lose the capacity for that empowerment. But nature never intended fear to run wild. So in our culture, what nature intended as one contained and monitored power line running through us with a specific purpose within our nervous systems has become like a live wire wreaking havoc on everything it touches. Now, there's a wise sage from India that some of you've heard of, but maybe not everybody. His name is Jiddu Krishnamurti, and he explained it this way. It's not that you must be free from fear. The moment you try to be free of fear, you create a resistance against fear. Resistance in any form does not end fear. If anything, it magnifies it. What is needed, rather than running away from or controlling or suppressing or any other resistance, is understanding fear. That means watch it, learn about it, come directly into contact with it. We are to learn about fear, not how to escape from it. Too bad, so sad. And the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron says, the next time you encounter fear, consider yourself lucky. This is where courage comes in. Usually, we think brave people have no fear. We think they've gotten over it. The truth is that they are intimate with their fear. The trick is to keep exploring and not bail out. As Bev's reading and meditation so beautifully reminded us, essentially, there are only two human emotions, love and fear. All the rest of the emotions on the spice rack fall somewhere on the spectrum between the two. You know the saying that people wear many masks in relationships? See, in my case, it would mean that I have one mask I wear as a practitioner, another mask I wear as a student, another mask as a wife, sister, friend, etc. How many masks do you wear in your life? I'm inviting you to reflect on this because fear wears a lot of different masks. The emotions that we've trained ourselves not to feel are masters at disguising themselves because they will find ways to express no matter what. If you step back and look over your spice rack of the more troubling emotions, such as frustration, irritation, anger, rage, anxiety, depression, very often, if you boil them down, you will find fear of something at the bottom of the pot. So one step in getting to know your fears so that you can work with them and turn that energy around to working for you rather than against you is to take time to reflect on what it is you're feeling afraid of or about. Then write it down or say it out loud. I have found that very often, if a fearful reaction is one I've had for some time, for example, one of mine is a fear of the power going out suddenly at night and being plunged into darkness. I may have forgotten exactly why it frightened me. It just scared me stiff every time it happened. For so many years, I never stopped to ask why. When I asked myself about my fear, what it's attached to, and what's important about it, my reaction that had been automatic and unconscious moved into conscious awareness. I started to understand myself about it. And we know that when we are conscious of something, we have the power of choice to change it. Pardon me. So then, to continue with this same example, if I ask myself, what about the sudden darkness frightens me, I realized that not being able to see made me feel out of control. I suddenly felt like I didn't know what was going to happen next. It is amazing how awareness can improve our experience of things. Now, before I had even done anything about it, I realized that it's not that I'm afraid to be in the dark, which is how I had so unkindly labeled myself about it for years. No, I'm not afraid of being in the dark. I just need to feel empowered about what happens in the dark. Indigenous wisdom from the Inuit Eskimos of Alaska says, if you are afraid, change something, like in the immediate moment, meaning something in your immediate experience, like getting up and moving to a different position, or stand up and just to yell. This can be very effective, such as in my case, my age-old reaction to the darkness would make me feel frozen. I felt like I was stuck in the darkness. Knowing that all I had to do was just move brought me empowerment, and the feeling of the frozen fear dissipated. This kind of process can be done with any fear from the past, today, or the future. You can befriend your fears about money, fears in relationships, fears about sickness and death. Even if you feel like you have many fears, working on them one at a time can bring you into deep, compassionate understanding of yourself. Once you start getting to know your fears in this way, you may also find that many of them come from the same roots in your inner life. For example, in my case, I discovered many of my seemingly unique and colorful fears came down to my fear of being out of control. And you also may discover that a fearful reaction you've always had really doesn't even apply anymore today, because the originally frightening thing is gone from your life. This is a big one, guys. So often our fears get automated and the original thing is thrown out or passed on or whatever it is, or we've moved to a whole different place in the world. But that automated reaction doesn't know that unless we really stop and get that message through. And so many of them have moved away long ago, but habitual reactions can happen so fast we never caught it. Now, one other thing to watch for with fear is that very often the thoughts and feelings of our fear are about things that are not happening right now. This is important because our imaginations can run wild with countless scary scenarios when actually in a living moment, life only unfolds one way. That ends up being 99 plus different scenarios, wasted energy, scaring ourselves. So one process I use when I am afraid is called doing a reality check. I ask myself some very basic questions right here, right now. Am I physically safe right now? Have I done everything about what I'm afraid of that I can do right now? Is there one person in my life that cares about me right now? If the answer to these questions is yes, it will likely settle your fear in the moment. If the answer to any of these questions is no, then you can ask yourself, what do you need to do to address the immediate concern? This is a way of making change, making movement, and it will likely help you feel better. Now, moving on to our second point, which is creating safety. Let me ask you something. If you generally felt safe in your environment and secure in your emotions in your everyday living moment, what would there be to be afraid of? Would there be anything to fear if those two conditions were generally met? So stop for a minute and really think about that. If you felt physically safe and emotionally secure, what else would there be to really be afraid of? With these ideas in mind, one of the most empowering questions you can ask yourself to honor and dissipate fear all at once is, what would I need to feel safer right now? The key is then to trust whatever response spontaneously comes and act on it if you can. For example, sometimes if I've really been frightened and I ask myself that question, I might suddenly realize I feel cold and a blanket would help. Or maybe closing and locking a door in the moment would help me feel safer. If nothing else, the willingness to ask yourself that question sincerely, with compassion, not like what's wrong with you, but sincerely, what would help, acknowledges the fear. Unacknowledged or denied fear or procrastination about doing something we're afraid of only makes that fear much more intense, like a shadow that becomes overgrown on the wall. We are not intended to live in fear. If there is something that feels like we just can't deal with it, then the first question to be willing to ask is, and perhaps get support for from people along the way, friends, relatives, practitioners, your minister, to ask yourself, what would I need to prepare myself and feel safe enough to deal with this? It always starts with where you really are, and wherever you really are is okay. It's just about starting there and realizing to get the support and find out what you need to feel safer. Susan Jeffers coined the phrase, feel the fear and do it anyway, which reminds us that having faith, pardon me, having faith does not necessarily mean there's an absence of fear. Faith empowers action that includes fear. But this doesn't mean it is necessary to just bowl over our fears. We can include our fears by listening to them first and taking actions, allowing ourselves to feel safer. Then we can be ready to easily, more completely move from fear to faith. So here's the encouragement from CSL Home Office this week. And this is where the topic of the fear factor came from. Move from fear into faith usually feels like taking some kind of a risk, opening up to being vulnerable. Becoming open to change in the unknown puts us on a spectrum between fear and faith. The exercise of vulnerability when exploring the fear factor is half the battle and sets us on the pathway to freedom. Our spiritual practices of affirmative prayer, meditation, and visioning can support us along this journey, no matter what the root cause is of the fear. Taking the big leap, when we think of leaping off that cliff, typically we imagine falling and crashing. However, when we think of jumping off the metaphysical cliff of fear into faith, infinite possibilities abound. The trick to that is you don't recognize that possibilities are going to open up once we've done that. It's like the light doesn't come on until we've moved. This is where healing happens, and we learn that we can actually fly. Jumping off requires the courage and bringing any fear along for the ride. Then the fear tends to eventually dissipate because it realizes that what it thought was is actually not. This is the moment that we feel the fear and do it anyway. This is where our faith builds and strengthens, because faith is cumulative and exponential. And that's how it is in faith community. When you exercise faith together, this is how everyone can transform, whether what we're transforming is individual or collective, because when you do it together, it's cumulative. Faith doesn't go away and new challenges arise. All of that faith is there to apply to them. We may just have to call on it and remind ourselves that we have it within for a new adventure. Given its cumulative nature, exerting faith gets easier every time. If the situation becomes more difficult, no matter how much fear we have, we can still find faith within, even as the smallest grain of the mustard seed. And this is what the Christ meant about that God knows form but not size. So whatever we're facing, that's all it takes, is that sense of conviction and leaning into what has been. The scary monster that we thought was there may actually be harmless. The fear could actually be a misconception or misunderstanding and not as real as we believed. Now, I want to share just an example from my life. I have so many examples of pushing through fear. It took me a little bit to think about the best example for this particular talk today. And some of you may have heard this story, but this is from a little bit different angle, because I don't usually talk about the fear that was involved as this happened. When I was 9 years old, I was having orthopedic surgeries to rectify what they could of my physical experience of not being able to walk because of my cerebral palsy. And I had about surgery at least every 18 months for about 5-6 years. And when I was 9, my orthopedic surgeon said something to me one day that really let me know that the surgeries were not going to make me be able to walk. And it was not his intention. It wasn't like somebody sat me down and said, honey, we need to explain this to you. It just came out and I just got it. And so it put me into a tailspin of fear and anger. I mean, I couldn't see straight. But I didn't say anything because my parents weren't there in that moment. And I just was rather dumbfounded and sat there in silence. But then on the 3rd day, I erupted with all of this fear and anger, and it went straight to the Almighty. And I told God, you are dirty, mean, and rotten. You are uncaring, unforgiving, and very selfish. And if you don't find a way to help me understand what's going on here, that's it. I said that we're not doing this. I'm done. I'm gone. Boom. That was the end of that story. And my point in telling you this way is sometimes we find the courage to take that leap because not taking that leap is no longer an option. I didn't even know I needed that option, but it was not an option. I was not going to be able to move forward in anything not speaking that truth. And I went to sleep, and when I woke up, there were 2 priests and a nun standing at the foot of my bed. And all I could think of was that my grandmother had reported me because I had renounced God. And I said that to them in so many words. And they honestly told me that they did not know my grandmother. My grandmother and my mother had been there at the side of my bed when I was going through this renunciation of the Almighty. And the 3 of them, where 3 or more are gathered, guys, this is one of the most powerful things I ever experienced in my whole life. I am not Catholic. It doesn't matter. The 3 of them were a unit, and they worked together all the time. They told me they went through the hospital, and they said a prayer for me that I couldn't even hear. They whispered it at the foot of my bed. And when they left the room, the Holy Spirit, like a mist, filled my hospital room and reached me with the message that it was not for me to know right then what the deal was, but that I had been heard, and it was mine to just hang in there for the ride and not give up. And that became a cornerstone foundation of my faith. And so within each and every one of us, this is going to be a process, but really take time to consider there have already been times in your lives where you have had to push through the paper tiger of the fear, and really think about what those outcomes were for you, because grace is always moving. And so to recap, here is a lovely quote from Reverend Michelle Madrano that was written in her book, Resolve Your Fears. In the space of loving compassion for ourselves and the part of us that has been living in fear, we can begin to transform the fear into faith and the faith into love. We can see there has been a good reason for those fears and why they were there. It sought to keep us safe and protect us at the time. Witnessing this, we can begin to think about it in a different way and let it go. We can literally direct our awareness to let go of the fear, or at the very least understand it and find out what it needs. We are moving forward. We are going to proceed in faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in life, faith in spirit. And then I have just a couple of other quotes that are just too powerful. No fear can, this is from Ernest Holmes in this thing called life. No fear can remain where faith holds sway. Faith reunites us with the original creative spirit, the divine mind, universal love, which already exists at the center of every being. This is the kingdom of heaven, and this kingdom of heaven is wholeness within. And finally, a quote from Richard Rohr and one quote from dear Reverend Chris Michaels. From Richard Rohr, faith does not need to push the river precisely because it is able to trust that the river is there. The river flows on its own. We are already in it. This is probably the deepest meaning of divine providence. So do not be afraid. And from Chris Michaels, the truth is our problems, challenges, and limitations are tiny, little, insignificant matters compared to the immense power we have through spirit to change, overcome, and transform them. So this week, I encourage you to take pauses, the pauses that we've been talking about recently, and just sit with your challenging emotions. Listen to what they have to tell you, and kindly, lovingly ask yourself what you need and what they're pointing to. Get comfortable giving consideration to what you need to simply feel safer and experience all of your feelings and relationships. And remember, Michael Gott said, we let go from fear to faith and from fear to love, and on the wings of love, we fly. Taking that breath, relaxing into what is good, relaxing into the supportive space of omnipresent and community love. We let go of what we've been clinging to. We turn our attention to universal spirit in, as, and through each one of us, both here right now and listening in the future. Mind, heart, and soul, we are one. And from this alignment, I realize in my experience of each and every individual connected to this community in any way, that it is done unto us according to the highest possible good, that this opportunity for the dissipation of frozen fear and transforming into that which it was intended, and all is well. That by doing so, by that right alignment, by that transformation, there is a comfort and an assurance and a confidence by which each and every person on this platform is set free. The truth shall set us free. And the truth is that our fear has its place. And everything is in divine right order and action. Praise God and glory, hallelujah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mother on Mother's Day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Father Spirit, I just release it with the heart of a child into the law to let it be, and so it is.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you very much. We're going to say our prosperity affirmation together at this time. I'm going to say it and then ask you to repeat it with me. I am free to believe that prosperity is mine. Yes. Let's say it together. I am free to believe that prosperity is mine. Yes. Thank you, Melba, for your song, Dare to Dream, which we drew this month. Part of the verse that this prosperity affirmation brings us. And at this time, we usually say thank you for your donations. Thank you for your tithes. Thank you for your givingness to our center, that we may remain a viable virtual organization. We offer you multiple opportunities to meet your desire to support this community. And you can find them on the chat, on the Tuesday update letter. And if you need someone to help you, give us a call. I'm going to turn this back to Vicky for the blessing of our offering.
And it just tickles me to have this opportunity. I love the way Pat has always what she's received in the mail, the envelopes of the gifts that you all have sent. So just imagine that if you have sent in a gift by mail, that your envelope is in here, and we are absolutely blessing it. We're so, so grateful for what is given and received, knowing that it multiplies and goes forth to bless everything and everyone who is looking for what we have, and that those blessings return to us tenfold. Thank you, thank you, thank you to each one of you. Thank you to the power of circulation and the love of life. And so we let it be, and so it is.
And now we turn to our announcements for this week. And the first one is a statement of our guest speaker for next week, who's Reverend Carolyn Harville. And her topic is, if you're happy and you know it. So come all ye happy people and join us for this talk and this time with Reverend Carolyn. Our second announcement is going to be much briefer than I know Pat intended, because it's an upcoming chance to study with Reverend Jesse Jennings. It's a 10-week course entitled The Essential Earnest Homes. So I'm starting to save my money so that I might be able to participate in that class, because as you can see, 10 weeks is more expensive. There's two options, though. You can take a Thursday evening class or a Friday morning class. It's a great opportunity to learn more about the life and teachings of Ernest Holmes from someone who is truly an authority on the subject. So we'll be bringing you more information to come and ask you to look forward to it, and maybe start yourself a special piggy bank for this really outstanding opportunity.
Don't switch it yet. So, Bev, if I may, it would be my pleasure to add just a little bit more about that. I was still Reverend Jesse's first practitioner for his practitioner corps when he wrote that book. And pardon me, understanding, first of all, I want to make sure that y'all are able to see the cover of the book. This is on the Essential Ernest Holmes. And some of you may have taken the class, The Essential Ernest Holmes. Some of you may have taken that class with me. But to sit with Reverend Jesse and grok his actual presence in that book mixed with the consciousness of Ernest Holmes, because the thing is, it's actually Ernest Holmes' writings, but what Home Office asked Reverend Jesse to do is go through and glean the pearls of Ernest Holmes' writings and then offer the support of Reverend Jesse's consciousness about those writings, which the combination is, you can't even hardly describe it. So if you can avail yourself of taking that class from that man, it will be a gift to you. If any of you even want to pray about that with regard to possibly coming up with tuition, don't hesitate to let us know. That's the kind of thing to turn over to the practitioner corps for treatment. And now I'm complete. I thank you for giving me the time to say that.
So, our last opportunity of the day to say together, you are magnificent. And we close today with a song by Karen Drucker.
Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my friend spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friend spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my health spirit, thank you for my health. Thank you for my health spirit, thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my life spirit, thank you for my life. Thank you for my life spirit, thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Thank you for my wealth spirit, thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth spirit, thank you for my wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. Thank you for this day, spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, spirit. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for this day, spirit. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you for this day, spirit. Every day I say thank you for this day.
Thank you for this day. Thank you for all of your presences. Too many of us are not living our dreams because we're living from our fears, and today is the last day that happens in this community. And simply and easily on that gratitude, I bring the official part of our service to closure to invite us into the time of sharing. Thank you. Amen.